This conference will now be recorded.
All right, let the installation complete. If it's throwing any error, then you can let me know. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Meanwhile, let me start with the class. All right. So yesterday we learned about database files, database file groups. Now, as we understand that database is nothing but collection of database files, right? So here we have options to attach the file with the instance as well as detach the file from the instance. So how we can create a new database? Right click on the database folder, click on new database, and we can give a database name. Here is the database name option. Let me give a database name. Let's say the database name is XYZ. Okay, and click on OK. So new database will be created. So what are the files associated with this database? If I go to properties, under files, I can see these two files are associated, located in this particular location, right? So let me go to that location. All right. So in the location, we have these two files. So these two files are actually creating the database XYZ, right? Now, in other words, these two files are attached with the instance. With this instance, these two files are attached, right? So what are the options to attach and detach the files? So one thing to understand, we cannot directly attach files to the instance. We can attach file to a database. Okay, and database comes under the instance. Okay, so this is the database, and if we want to detach the database, the option is right click on the database, go to task, and click on detach. Make sure you are checking these two options: drop connection, update stats. Okay, now let me click on OK. The database got detached, but it is still showing here. Why? Because we need to refresh the folder. So folder refreshed, and now the database is gone. Okay, but we can see the files are still here. So here is the difference. It's not like deleting the database. If we delete the database, the respective files would be also deleted automatically, right? But instead of deleting, we have detached the database. That means the database is not attached with this instance anymore. Okay, we just detached the database from the instance. So how we can attach the database again to the instance? Right click on the database folder and click on attach. Okay, so in the attach option, we have to first add the MDF file. Now what is MDF file? What is the extension of a data file? The extension of a data file is .mdf, right? That is why they are referring it as MDF file. So we need to attach the data file first. So let me click on add. Now I need to go to that particular location. So here you can see the location C, program files, Microsoft SQL Server, um, data and database files, right? So under data, we can see our xyz.mdf. This is the database file of, this is the data file of our xyz database, right? So if you select the file and click on OK, then you can see automatically the log file will be selected. Okay. Once we select the data file here, the respective data file and log file will be selected automatically. Okay. Now we just need to click on OK. That will attach our database back to the instance. Now, this is how we can do database attach and database detach. Now the question is, what is the benefit of it? Okay. The benefit is, if we can, if we want to move the database files from one location to other location, once the database is created, we cannot do it because these files are attached with the instance, right? As these two files are attached with this instance, we cannot move these files. Let's say I want to cut the file from here and move to a new folder, database files, but I cannot do it because it's saying the files are open in the SQL instance Hermes. The action can't be completed because the files are open in SQL Server Hermes, right? That means the files are attached with this instance. Now first we need to detach the files from the instance. So right click on the database, going to task, clicking on detach. Now the database got detached. Okay. Let me refresh the folder. So the database got detached. Now can we move the files? Because the files are detached from the instance, right? So let me just now try to move the files from here to this folder. See, now the operating system and SQL Server allowed us to move the files. All right. Now why they allowed us? Because the database is not attached with the instance anymore. That means the respective database files are currently not in use. Okay. So if we want to attach back the database files, then we need to right click on the database folder, click on attach, click on add. Then I have moved the files from the data folder to database files folder, right? So here we have the MDF file. So let me click on OK. So now you can see the new location. Now the new location is under, not under data, under data and also another folder, database files, right? Now let me click on OK. Now if I go to the database properties, I can see now the database files are located under data database files, not under data. Okay. For other databases, let me see for this one. If I go to demo database, the files, you can see it is under data. If I go to the location also, you can see the demo database files are under this location, under data location, right? But we have moved our database under database files folder, right? So our XYZ for database our XYZ database files are now placed at a new location. The new location is under database files. Okay. Now the question is why we are learning it. First of all, we should be knowing what is file that is creating the database, right? Now we learned how we can attach the file and detach the file, right? So let's say someone just provided us the respective database files. How we can create a database out of those database files. So how to create a database from database files. So we learned how we can create a database from a database files. How we can do? By performing attach operation, right? Now also we have understood that how we can transfer a database file from one location to another location, right? So how we can do it? First detach, then file movement to the new location, then attach, right? So these are the operations that we can perform using file attach and detach. So anyone is having any questions?
Uh, Hi, Datta here.
Yeah, hi.
Can you explain again the attaching operation?
Attach operation, right? So for that, let me first detach the database. Right, database got detached. Now to attach the database, we need to right click on database folder and click on attach. Then we have this window and an add button. In the add button, we need to add the data file location, or in other words, we need to select the data file of the database. Okay, so let me click on add. Let me navigate C drive, then program files, then we have Microsoft SQL Server, then we have our instance folder, MS SQL, data. Then instead of placing the files here, we have placed the file in the database files folder, right? So we will be finding XYZ data file in database files folder. So here we have two files, MDF and LDF. So as we know, this is a LDF file, right? Or log file. But this is a LDF file or log file, right? So transaction log file or LDF file. But in the wizard, we are selecting only the MDF file or the database file. That is why you can see only MDF file option is selected here. If you choose all the files will be shown. But here we are actually trying to search only the MDF file. So let me select the MDF file and click on OK. So once the MDF file is selected here, SQL Server will automatically detect the respective log file as well. Okay, so here is my MDF file located in this location. Here is my LDF file located in this location. And now I just need to click on OK. That will attach the database to the instance. Now once the database is attached to the instance, if I want to try to move the files, I cannot do it because the files are now attached to the instance. The action can't be completed because the file is open with SQL Server Hermes. So Hermes is my instance name, right? So as the database is attached with Hermes, so we cannot move the files anymore. Again, to move back the files, again detach. So detach operation done. Now file movement, right? So this is file movement. This is my file. I want to move the file from this location to, let's say, this location. File movement is done. Now what is next? Now I need to attach the files. So what will happen is the database will be created with the respective files, and the respective files will not be in the old location. The database files will be presenting in the new location. So in total, what happened? We actually performed a database file movement, right? So if there is a requirement to move the database files from one location to another location, see, under database files, there are no files now, right? So we need to go back to data folder. This is the database file. Now we can attach it back. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yes.
Sir, I have one
All right.
question.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, if we don't have the log file, will it attach it?
Yes, it's a very good question. So it will still attach the, it will still attach the database, but it will miss out all the log information. That means if there is any transaction, if there was any transaction ongoing, then you will be missing those transactions. So the database will not be consistent one. So let me show you this.
So basically, Saurabh here, you mean to say only the base file will be loaded, the changes will all
Yeah,
be left out. Okay.
yes, uncommitted changes. So there is
Okay.
another term, uncommitted. So what is committed and uncommitted, that I'll discuss later in the course. But I mean, some of the data will be missing, and there are chances as well that you won't be able to attach the database also. There's a possibility as well. So let me cut the log file from here to desktop. Okay. So uh, we only have the data file, right? Now let me do this. Let me attach the database. Let me try to find out the data file. This is the data file. Okay. But you can see transaction log file not found. A empty log file will be created. That means the last recorded information from the database data file was the log file was present in this particular location, right? With this name. But it cannot map the file with this location because I have moved the file from here to desktop, right? So that is why the message is transaction log file not found. A new empty log file will be created. So when there will be an empty log file, that means we will not be able to get some of the information or some of the transactions. So if I click on OK, see, so it got failed. So it may get failed for some time as well. So it is not like it will be successful always. So let me try to remove it only with the data file. Let me try. Yes, it got created. So it got created successfully with an empty log file. So a new file was created which is empty. Now if I go to the data location, a new file is created which is empty. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, sir. The size of the file
But
is
we
also
should
less.
not be performing this. We should be performing uh, in a safer way, like attaching both the data and log file, right? Okay. Now, how to take a database into offline? What is offline? As the name suggests, we will not be able to access the database. So as you can see, XYZ is the database. So I can access the database, right? Even I can connect to the database here. XYZ database is connected with this session, right? So whatever I run here, that will be executed against this database, right? Now the question is, if I I want to bring down the database, that means the database would be attached with the instance, but no one can access the database. Then the option is bringing or taking the database into offline state. So the option is right click on the database, go to task and click on take offline. Okay, make sure you are checking this option on. All right, so database went offline. Now I cannot select the database anymore. Let me show you. Let's say if I want to expand it, I can expand it, but I cannot make a connection with this database. See, in the database list, I don't have the list XYZ. So XYZ database is not listed here in the database list. I can see the database in offline state, but I cannot make a new connection. So this is a session, right? That means this is a new connection to the database, and I want to make a connection with XYZ database, but it is not showing up here. If I see the database status using SP help DB, what is SP help DB? I'll discuss in details, but for now, let me show you the output. It's taking much time to finish. Why? All right, so we have the output. It should not be taking that much of time actually. All right, so you can see here we don't have the database XYZ listed. Okay, we have only the database listed where the status is online. So you can see the status equals to online. So this is only the databases where status is online. Now how to bring the database online? Right click on the database, going to task, bring online. Done. Now if I run the same query again, I can see XY database, the status is online. Now if I want to try to make a connection with XYZ database, yes, I can see the database listed here as well, right? So what a database offline and online does, it makes the database inaccessible for users. All right, so it makes the database inaccessible to users. Now we can do the other changes as well. What are the other changes? Let me first connect to master database. Right. Let's say alter database name XYZ. This is my database name. I want to make the database read only. That means everyone can only read the database. No one can perform any write operation. Okay. So the command is alter database. This is database name. So alter database name set read only. This is the command. All right. So we need to select this command and make sure we are connected with master database, and we need to click on execute. Command completed successfully. Now if you refresh the database folder, you can see XYZ database is read only and there is a log symbol placed on top of the database. It's in read only state. That means whatever data is there in the database, we can read the data, but we cannot perform any write operation. So let me check the database status using SP help DB. So XYZ database, see, every other database is in read write state. So updatability equals to read write. But for XYZ, the updatability is read only. That means everyone can read the data, but no one can write any information. All right. So how we can bring the database back into read write mode? The statement is alter database name. My database name is XYZ. Set, instead of read only, it would be read write. So if I select the command and execute,
To
yeah.
uh, like what is the difference in the read the data and write the data?
So let's say in the database you have one table called student. All right. And you want to perform some
Okay.
insert operation on the table. So that you cannot do because the database is in read only state. That means you can only perform read operation. You cannot perform any insert, update, or delete operation. Understand?
Okay. So we cannot modify the.
You cannot modify the data as well. So it is only read only. You cannot perform any write, that means insert, update, or delete. All right. So that was about changing the database state.
Debhabrita, I have a question. So
Mhm.
this command, that alter database set read write, this is case sensitive, right?
No, this is not case sensitive. So
I
I can,
tried.
let me show you. Alter database XYZ set read only, go. Command
SQL
executed
is
successfully.
insensitive.
So SQL or T-SQL programming language is not case sensitive. You write it in capital letter, you write it in small letter, both will execute the same way.
But for that,
Okay.
if there is something that we have to start the command with the, if we are starting the command in the capital letters or the smaller letters, then whole the command will be in the same manner.
No, nothing
Is
like
like,
that as well. So let's say
okay.
alter database XYZ in read write, let's say. Okay. Done. Command executed successfully. The database is back to read-write mode.
Okay,
So
okay.
as I
Thank
stated
you.
earlier, SQL or T-SQL programming language is not case sensitive. So you don't have to worry about writing it into smaller case, uppercase, or anything about case sensitivity. Okay. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, yes.
And Devabrata, Saurabh here. Can this be done from graphic user interface as well?
No. I
Oh.
guess no. Let me try. Yeah. Let me see if the option is there. Because in UI, you don't have all the possible options. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In script, you can do many different things. But in UI, you are getting only the popular options or the most used options. Right.
So the script,
No.
there are many commands, right? Is there a list of all the commands where we can like refer?
So the lists are so the fun part of SQL is the list of command is very less. There are very limited number of commands that you need to remember. Okay, but the the mix and match how you are utilizing those commands to get your output, that is what you need to learn. The total number of commands in SQL programming language would be hardly 50. Hardly. Okay, it's not even 50, I believe. Okay, so but you are using those commands in a particular combination. That is what you need to learn. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so let me give you an example. If you want to see any data, the command is select. If you want to modify any data, the command is update. If you want to, you know, add a new data, the command is insert. All right, if you want to remove some data, the command is delete. So this is the 4 command using which you can deal with the data of your database. So to perform all the possible options, you are using only these 4 basic commands, right? So the list of command is very less. All right. So let's start with the next topic, which is planning of backup. Okay. So when we are talking about data or when we are talking about database, the first thing we need to make sure is security. Security, or not security actually, security is a different aspect. The availability of the data. Let's say we are having a database of SBI Bank. Okay, and the database name of SBI Bank is SBI_DB. All right, let's consider this is the database of SBI Bank. Now if, let me create a new database as well. SBI_DB. This is the database name of SBI Bank. So in the database, what are the things that we have stored in the database? Starting with all customer information, all account information, account, bank balance information, right? KYC information, everything. So everything related to the bank is stored in this SBI DB database. Now the thing is, if someone uh, who is, who can access the database can simply go and delete the database. I am a frustrated employee of, SBI Bank. I just put my resignation yesterday. Now I want to make a blunder and I just drop the database. Now let's say everyone who is having an account in SBI, having crores of money in their account, will everyone lost their money because I have dropped the database? Is it a feasible solution or is it an acceptable solution? No, right? So we need to make sure that whatever happen, whatever possible option happen, we must recover our database back. Okay. So there is no way we can lose our data or we can lose our database. Is this clear to everyone?
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So every information which is stored in the database, we need to get the data back to us. If someone dropped the database, if someone deleted the database, this is not a solution that we will be losing our data. We need to make a mechanism using which we can get our database back. All right. So what is the way? The way is taking backup of the database. All right. So in this module, we are going to see of how we can implement a backup strategy. So I just discussed about the need of taking a backup. So why we need to take a backup? To save our data. If something happens to our database, there must be a backup using which we restore our data. In other words, let's say I have these many PPTs with me, right? If my cousin logs into my system and remove all this PPT or deletes all this PPT, so I'll be nowhere. I need to again make these PPTs. That is a very big task for me. So I must make sure that I have the backup of this files. So I have uploaded the files in cloud, right? So this is my backup mechanism of my files. In the same way, we have a backup mechanism for the databases as well. And the backup mechanism is as below. So before we discuss backup, there are some recovery models that we need to understand. Let me go through the recovery models. There are basically total 3 type of recovery models. One is simple, other one is full, the other one is bulk logged. Okay. So what is simple recovery model? So simple recovery model will not be saving any transaction information. What is the meaning? A simple recovery model will not be storing any information regarding the transaction in the log file. So automatically truncates means removes. Okay? Automatically removes log to keep the space requirement small. So simple recovery model will only store information in the data file. It will not store any transaction log information in the log file. So there are
So
two files, right?
basically you mean to say the base file will be edited all the time. There will be no log file in this case.
So there will be a log file, but the thing is,
Okay.
it will be not saving the transaction details in the log file. It will be only saving the information in the data file. Okay. It will not save any transaction log details in the log file. That
So
is
what
about
will be
simple
saved?
recovery model.
Then what will be
So
saved in the log file?
there won't be anything in the log file. So the log file will be very small in simple recovery model.
It
Okay.
will be empty.
So
That means.
yeah, that would be mostly empty in simple recovery model. The
Okay.
log file will be empty in simple recovery model. Okay. Now
So
let's talk about.
how
Mhm.
will we recover the data? Like it will only be the database, no log file in that case, right?
Mm, I'll come to that. How we are going to recover, I'll come to that. Okay. So
Acha,
that's about
okay.
simple recovery model. Now, what is full recovery model? Full recovery model is saying that the data file will be used as well as the log file will be used. That means when we are saving any information in the data file, let's say, let me go to properties, files. All right. So when we are inserting a data, so the data is going to where? The data file, this data file. And when we are inserting a data, the respective other associated informations. What are the associated informations? When the data was inserted, when, who inserted the data, in which table the data was inserted, what was the old data, what is the new data. All the associated information will be saved in the log file, right? So in the full recovery model, the data would be saved in the data file and the associated information would be saved in the log file. Clear? So here the log file will keep on increasing because for every insert operation, we are having some logging information storing in the log file as well. So log file will keep on growing with the data file as well. Okay. So that is about full recovery model. Now what is bulk log recovery model? Bulk log recovery model works in between simple and full. So in full recovery model, there is a problem. What is the problem? The problem is I am, let's say I am inserting one record, right? With this one record, let's say data file got updated with one record and log file got updated with one record. Now if the same operation, so this is the entire operation, right? Inserting one record, for inserting one record, data file is updated with one record, log file is updated with one record. Now if I do the same thing for this many records, so I am inserting these many records at a time. So what will happen? These many records will be updated in the data file. These many records will be updated in the log file. This is causing a problem. Why? Because inserting in the data file is fine because anywhere we need to save our data. But inserting the associated log information is in the log file is taking some additional time as well. So we are actually performing two different operations for performing the insert operation, right? Which is causing a delay in our operation. So how we can reduce the delay? So when we are performing many insert operation at a time, many insert operation at a time calls as BCP. That means bulk copy program. Okay. So when we are inserting many rows in a single time, then this is called as BCP operation. Okay. So for BCP operation, we are skipping log file update. We are only performing data update. Okay. But if the operation is happening for one record or 10 record or 100 record, this will not be categorized as BCP. Then we'll be performing both data file and log file update, right? So that is a solution which is in between simple recovery model and full recovery model. Okay, that is called as bulk log recovery model. Okay,
Could you repeat it, Devabhrata, please?
which one?
The last one, bulk log.
Okay. So simple recovery model is doing what? It's not performing any log operation. In simple words, it's not performing any log operation. Be it I am inserting one row, be it I am inserting 10 million row. It's simply not performing any log operation. Okay. What is full recovery model? If I'm inserting one record, it's performing data update and log update. If I'm performing 10 million insert operation, that is also in full recovery model, it's performing data update as well as 10 million log update. That is taking some time. So updating 10 million log record entry will be taking some amount of time, right? So in order to minimize this additional time, right? So this bulk log recovery model came into picture. So when we will be inserting bulk insert operation, so when we'll be performing bulk operation, bulk means many operation or many transaction or many insert operation at a time, then we are going to skip the logging operation. So only data will be updated. There won't be any log operation for bulk operations only. See, performance for bulk copy operations. So for bulk copy, we are going to skip the logging. So for bulk copy, the logging would be skipped. That is why this recovery model is called as bulk log recovery model. Is it clear
How
to
we
everyone?
skip that?
Hmm?
Yeah, it's clear. Thank you.
What was the question?
Yeah, how we skip that performance?
How we can skip that performance? I didn't get your question.
Actually, the in bulk log, how the logs will be reduced or skipped, right?
So when we are performing bulk operation, let's say
Correct.
when the operation in a very big chunk, okay, when the insert operation is in very big chunk, then we are going to skip the log operation. We are only going to perform the data file update operation. So if we skip the log file operation, then we are going to save this amount of time, right? So for bulk operation, it will act as simple recovery model. And when this is not a bulk operation, then this will act as a full recovery model. Is it clear?
Actually, how can we skip that log files? Because while updating the data, it will automatically log, no?
No, no. So this is managed by SQL itself. So we are not performing this operation. So the data files and log files, we are not going to update individually. We are going to update at database level. When we are performing insert operation, we are performing insert operation on database. We don't have the option to connect to the database file. We have the option to connect to the database. Okay. All right. So we are performing the insert operation at database level, and SQL Server is managing updating the data file and log file. So if it's in bulk recovery model, SQL Server will manage to skip the log operation.
So it means it will update automatically data and log file, right?
Yes, SQL will update the data and log file. We don't have to
We
update
need
data and log file.
we need to insert only.
We need to insert at database level only.
Only. Yeah, got it. Right. Thanks.
All right. Now going to next. Now this slide is very interesting. A very useful slide to understand. Okay. So please everyone pay attention. So how a transaction happens. So as I told you guys, database is nothing but having two files. One is data and log, right? Where are the file placed? The files are placed under a disk location only, right? So under disk location, we have the files placed. As we know, disk is very slow responding device. So disk doesn't work very fast manner. Disk is the slowest device of a computer, right? So when we are having our database stored, this is disk, okay? So our database is stored, or database files are stored in the disk. When we are performing some operation, the first thing SQL Server will do is it will take the respective database pages to RAM. RAM is called as buffer cache. Okay. So in database terms, they don't call it RAM, they call it memory or buffer cache. Okay. So first thing is to copy the files or copy the pages. So when we are accessing some information, we are accessing the information via pages, right? We discussed about pages. So the data will be accessed via pages. A page is collection of 8 kilobyte, right? So it will copy the data pages. Let's say we need 10 pages to update. So we got a request to update 10 pages. So the 10 pages that we need to update, it will first be copied to the RAM, or in other words, buffer cache. 10 pages is copied to RAM or buffer cache. Okay. So going forward, we'll call it buffer cache, not RAM. Okay. Again, let me just give you a background why we are calling it buffer cache. So RAM, or random access memory. In industry, we don't call it RAM, we call it memory. Okay. And RAM is a hardware term. It is a terminology of computer hardware level. When we come at software level, we don't call it RAM, we call it memory. Okay. And in memory, we have some segregations. Let's say the total memory is 6 GB. Okay. And once the system is boot up, the 6 GB will be divided into some parts. What are the parts? Let's say 2 GB would be reserved for operating system, and 4 GB would be reserved for database. Okay. Now the 4 GB you see reserved for database, this part of memory is called as buffer cache. Okay. So I have total 6 GB of RAM. Out of 6 GB, our operating system dedicated 2 GB for operating system, because to run our operating system we need some memory, right? So 2 GB got allocated to operating system, and 4 GB got allocated for SQL Server database. So this part of memory is referred here as buffer cache. Is it clear to everyone? So my total memory is 6 GB. I'm dividing the memory to 2 GB for operating system and 4 GB for database. Now, if you ask me who is performing the divide operation, I am not performing the divide operation. This segregation or divide operation is performed by the operating system and SQL Server itself. All right. So here in the instance properties, if I go to memory, you can see the maximum memory that we need to allocate, that we can configure here. So if I need 6 GB of RAM, I can put 6 into 1024. That number I can put here. That will allocate 6 GB of RAM or 4 GB of RAM, whatever the number is, it will be there. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
So this part of memory is called as buffer cache. So if we need to update 10 pages, the 10 pages will be first loaded in buffer cache. because this is a faster device. Now, a user has requested for some data modification. Let's say uh, there is a table. Okay, let's say there is a table. The table name is, let's consider Facebook user. Facebook, the table name is Facebook user. Okay, so the Facebook user is having some columns. What is a row, what is column, that will come later, but let me give you an example first. Okay, so the columns are ID, name, age, email address, mobile number, all right, country, etc. So these many columns are there for Facebook user table. Now there are many records. Let's say we have one record where ID is, let's say, 10, name is, let's say, Devu, age is 33, email address is, let's say, devu at the gmail.com. Okay, mobile address is 99009900, country is India. All right, so this is one record. There could be millions of records. Let's consider this is one record, and I have requested that instead of 33 I need to update it to 34. So the update request data modification is sent by application. So in Facebook applications, we have option to update our information. Let's say I wanted to update my name from Devu to Devu Ghosh. All right. So this is a update request sent from the application, right? So when this update request sent from the application, it will hit the database. When it will hit the database, it will do what? It will first bring a copy of the respective pages from disk database files to buffer cache, right? So it will copy those information in the buffer cache, update the information in the buffer cache, and send the information in the log file. So here we have one point to understand. Here we have in disk level, let me give you one example. Disk, we have this information because it was initially Debu, not Debu Ghosh, right? Disk, we have this information, and in memory, we have updated the information. All right. So at disk level, it is still Debu. Why? Because I have copied the page from disk to memory and updated the information in memory, not in disk. I have updated the information in memory, right? So in memory, I have the updated value, but in disk, I still have the old value. So there is a discrepancy in the data between memory and disk. Okay. To mitigate this discrepancy of data, log file come into picture. Okay. So once the file or the data is updated in memory, SQL Server is sending the information to the log file. So as I said you guys earlier, log file will be holding the associated information for any transaction. So what is the associated information of this transaction? The associated information for the log file is table name, old value, new value, right? So these would be associated information. So these associated informations would be transferred to log file. Okay, and once it is transferred to log file, the transaction would be, the SQL server will send a information to the user or requester that your data is modified. But in actual, the data is modified only in memory, not in disk. Okay, so the data is modified in memory and the respective information is updated to the log file. But the actual data in the disk is still the old data. And SQL Server sent acknowledgement to the requester that your data got updated. Okay. Now, how we are performing the sync between the memory and disk? So the sync comes in terms of
Hello, sir.
log file.
Hello.
Yeah, tell me.
Utkarsh is sir. I have one question. If we update our file, so we can remove, or delete the previous file.
Sorry, I didn't get your question. Can you come again?
Sir, you said that we copied that our previous data. We first of all we update our data, so we can remove our previous one file like devu dot gmail.com, etc.
So instead of copy and paste, you are saying cut and paste, right?
Yeah.
So if we do cut and paste, still we need to fill the void, or still we need to fill the pages which is missing.
Oh, yeah.
So if you perform cut paste, so the
Hmm.
pages are at memory, you need to cut it back to the disk as well, right?
Yes.
So still the disk needs to be updated. The point is the disk needs to be updated, right? And to update the
Right.
disk, we are going to use log files. So the transaction is
Okay.
done, acknowledgement sent to the user. Okay, the log file
Okay.
is modified, then in the background, underline in the background. Okay, so
So
it
it
will
so it
not
means
be
we,
performed.
yeah. Yes, sir.
Let me finish.
Okay.
So in the background, SQL will apply the log in the disk. Why it's doing in the background? Because updating the disk is a slow process and user cannot wait for a slow device to respond. That will make
Yes.
the entire transaction very slow. Okay, so
Yes.
SQL will update in memory. It will tell user your update is done. That's the end of story. But in the background, the log file is having the necessary information in the log, right? It will update the disk.
Okay.
So
So it means
the
with the help
sequence
of
is,
log file. Yes.
first is the request, second is the update in memory, third is updating the log file, then the
Right.
last operation is update in the data file.
Data file.
That is the
Okay.
sequence.
Okay.
So is it clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I
What
have a
about others?
question.
Yeah, tell me.
Suppose this Facebook interface user is having a millions of data, right? And we
Mhm.
have studied that we cannot, if this got corrupted, the log file is removed. And we
Mhm.
have studied that we cannot recover the log data, right? Log file. Then
Right,
how can we
right.
modify it?
Yeah, that is why. So that is why we need to. So the module started with planning for backup, right? That means how
Yeah.
we can save our data. Saving our data means saving our data file as well as log file, because database is about having data file and log file. Database is not having only data file; it's having log file as well. So saving database means we need to save both data file and log file. So the module started with backup strategy. That means how we can safeguard our data. So here we are discussing about the importance of data file and log file. So here this is data file and here this is log file. So now you can understand the importance of a data file and the importance of a log file, right? So both are very important to understand, or very important or very related to each other, in other words. So we cannot recover our data without the log file, right? So in order to recover our data, we need our log file as well. Because if we only have the data file, we'll be having the data of this, where the name is Debu, if the log file is missing. Because log file is going to update the data from Debu to Debu Ghosh in the disk, right?
Yep.
That is why log file is also very important.
Correct.
All right. So,
So, Bhuvata, Saurabh here.
yeah, tell me.
Uh, if you can go to the recovery models, right? The simple recovery model where the log file will not be will not contain any backup, right? In
Mhm.
this case, how will the transaction happen?
Good question. Very good question. So, the thing is, whenever, so if you see the line, automatically truncates or automatically removes log to keep space requirement small. So
Okay.
it's not saying that it will not write into log file. It's saying it will automatically remove the log file, or it will
Good
automatically
day.
remove the log information. Okay. What is the meaning? The meaning is I have updated the data in memory. The associated information is written to log. Now the log updated the disk. Once the cycle is complete, SQL Server will automatically remove the associated log information from the log file. That is the meaning of automatically removing log to keep the space requirement small.
Okay.
So it will write to the log file,
Mm-hmm.
and once it is updated in the disk, the log file records would be removed automatically. So it is a temporary storage. It will not
Okay.
store the information permanently. It will store the information temporarily just to update the disk. But in
Okay.
full recovery model, what will happen? In full recovery
Yeah, that
model,
will have a
this
log
log
file.
file will be keep on writing. It will not remove
Mm.
anything from the log file. It will keep on writing every information.
And again, in bulk logged file, there will be a limit. After the limit, the log file will be returned to the base file permanently and removed, right? And then again
Yes,
refreshed. Okay,
yes.
got it.
All right. So now let's talk about how we can take database backups. Let me see the class notes first. Okay. So recovery models. Full recovery model is what? Every transaction would be logged in the log file. Simple recovery model is why what? No transaction records would be stored in the log file permanently. Right? What is bulk log recovery model? No transaction records would be stored within bulk operation. Okay, in brackets BCP. So that is about recovery models. Now, what are the different backups that we can take? The different backups that we can take is full backup. What is full backup? Take a backup of the entire database. Entire database means data file as well as log file. Next is differential backup. What is differential backup? Takes backup of only the change value after a full backup. So what is change value? I will come to that. But takes backup of only the change value after a full backup, only data file. So it takes the backup of only data file. And what amount of data it's actually taking backup, that I'll discuss. Okay. And the last type of backup is log backup. Log backup is doing what? Take the backup of transaction log file only. So only log file backup is taken. So here you can understand only full backup is taking the entire data file and log file backup. Differential backup is taking only data file backup and log backup is taking only log file backup. So a full snapshot or an entire backup is been done by only full backup. Okay. All right. So again, so copy only backup I'll discuss later. So full differential and log backup is there. Now let me show you how we can take a full backup. To take a full backup, right click on the database, go to task, click on backup. So let me show it again how to navigate. Right click on database, go to task, click on backup. Okay. So once we click on backup, we'll get a wizard. Let me maximize. This is source section. Okay. And this is destination section. So what is source? The source is our database. So we are taking backup of our database. Which database? XYZ. What is the backup type? I want to take a full backup. I don't want to take any differential backup. I want to take a full backup. So backup type is full. Now, so the source is selected. The database and the backup type is selected. Next is what? The destination, where the backup file would be placed. So you can see a default location is there. First we need to remove it. Okay. So click on the location and click on remove. Then under destination, we need to add the location. Let me click on add, then browse to the location. So C drive, program files, Microsoft SQL Server, backup. Okay. Under backup, I want to save. So you need to click on the folder, else the location will not be selected. So this is selected path. Okay. File type is this. Now I need to give the file name. Let's say XYZ backup. XYZ underscore backup is the file name. So what is the extension of the backup? Everything has an extension, right? So for backup, the extension is .bak. So .bak is the extension of backup file. Let's click on OK. Okay. So the location and the file name is there. Now we have media options. We need to click on this too. Verify backup, perform checksum. Under backup options, we don't have to change anything. All right. So this is it. Now let me click on OK. See, the backup of database XYZ completed successfully. So the backup has been generated. If I go to the location, backup, see XYZ underscore backup.bak file created. What is the time? Today, 9:22 p.m. Right? So a backup file has been generated. Now the question is, what will happen if someone drop the database? So I have dropped the database. Okay. Now the database is dropped. Now can we recover the database? Yes or no?
Yes, from the
Yes,
backup
with the
folder.
backup we can recover.
So we have a full backup.
Mm.
So we cannot recover a database from every backup. If the backup is a full backup, then only we can recover a database from a full backup. Okay. So we have a full backup of the database. So using this backup file, we can recover our database. How we can do it? Let's see. So right click on database folder, click on restore. So restore database. Click on restore database. So here is source. What would be the source? So I want to recover my database from what?
XYZ.
So I want to recover the database from the backup file, right? So I want to get my database back. Again, I want to get my database back up. I want to get back my database from the backup file that we have taken, right? So the source would be the backup file location. And where the backup file is saved? The backup file is saved in the storage device or hard disk drive. So we need to choose device here. Okay. So in device, we need to browse to that particular backup file location. So see, C drive, program files, Microsoft SQL Server. This is my instance folder, MS SQL and backup. So here we have the backup file. So I've clicked on the backup file and click on OK. Now click on OK. Now the backup file got selected. Okay. So as you can see, here is destination. That means what would be the database name in the instance. So we can change the destination database name. Previously it was XYZ. It may happen like I want to restore the database as XYZ_R so that I can understand it was restored from backup. So that in the destination, the database name would be XYZ_R. Okay. Under files, let me click on this. This will do what? It will place the database files under this location. Under options, that's it. Okay. Restore with recovery. So it will restore the database and it will bring the database online. Okay. All right. So everything is set. Let me click on OK. Database XYZ_R restored successfully. So you can see now the database got restored in the instance. So is
One
it clear
question
to
here.
everyone? Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, I just tried it and yeah, I was able to do. Can you just click on the backup option once again? I have one question there. Yeah. So in my system, it is showing the recovery model as full. In yours, it is showing as recovery model simple and both are grayed out. So why is the difference?
That I'll come. That will come. This one,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. I mean, mine it is showing as full and it is again grayed out. I cannot change it.
That actually I missed to show you guys. That I'll show. All right.
Okay.
So as I discussed with you guys, the different database recovery models, right? So the database recovery model can be full, simple, and bulk log. So from where we can see that what is my database recovery model and how we can change it. So this is my database. If I go to the properties of my database and then going to options. Okay. Here I can see the recovery model. So the database recovery model is selected as simple. There are three options: full, simple, bulk log, right? As we discussed. So it is
I got
selected simple for me. For you, it is selected as full. So let me change it
it.
to full for my database as well, right? So if we want, we can change it. So from simple, I want to change it to full. Okay. Then click on OK. Now if I go to properties again and see the options, see the database recovery model is full now. Okay. Now if you go to backup wizard, you'll be seeing the recovery model is full because
Okay.
I have changed the recovery model from simple to full. Now the next
Got it.
question is, as I changed the recovery model from simple to full, I can see another option, transaction log backup. Previously, it was only full and differential for simple recovery model. But for full recovery model, we can see another option of backup, which is transaction log. Why? Because in full recovery model, it's doing what? It's performing the data file, it's performing the update on data file as well as log file. So let me again give you the slide overview. In full, it is performing, data file update as well as log file update. But in simple, the log file is getting updated, but it's automatically removed by SQL Server, right? So we have nothing in the log file to back up. That is why for simple recovery model, we cannot take log file backup. But for full recovery model, as we are writing into log file and it's not getting deleted automatically by SQL Server, we have to take log backup, requires log backup, right? So log backup is possible for full recovery model. So if I change it to simple recovery model, you can see. So let me change it to simple recovery model again. You guys can see that the transaction log backup option would be not there anymore. Let me change it to simple. Now let me go to the backup wizard. So here we have full and differential. Now transaction log backup option is not there anymore. Why? Because in simple recovery model, we don't write anything in the log file. So if we are not writing anything in the log file, why should we have the option to backup log file, right?
Yes.
Right? All right. So that was about full
Just
backup and restore. Yeah.
just one more question here. Like, just wanted to know, a little curious about it. We talked about bulk log option recovery model, that there's a limit which we can set, and after that the log file refreshes with making the permanent changes in the base file,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
So
mhm.
here, can we see that? Where can we set the limit, or how does it work?
No, there is no limit. There is a programming style or programming module
Okay,
which
okay.
will
So
call
that's a
BCP
custom what
function.
we do.
If BCP function is used, then it
Hmm.
will skip the logging operation. If BCP module is not used, then it will log everything in the log file. So it's at
So,
programming level, not in the
okay,
server configuration or database configuration level.
okay, got it.
All right. So is it clear to everyone, or there are some doubts?
It's clear from my side.
And what about others?
It's clear.
Clear.
Clear,
Clear,
sir.
sir.
Clear.
All right. So this is a homework for you guys. Create a blank database, add a data file to primary file group, add a data file to a new file group, drop the data file from the database, except data file, okay, as well as drop the database. This is homework one. And let me give you another homework. Create a blank database, attach form, detach and attach. Then perform detach, data and log file movement. Then attach. Okay. And the last, drop the database. This two would be your homework. All right. And there are some other homework like what is page in computer, what is SSD, HHD, what is integrity of data, that you guys need to understand. Okay. So this topic, please learn about this topic. What is data consistency? Same thing. What is stale data related to integrity, right? What is inconsistent data related to data consistency? What is metadata? This question we can skip. Mm, Now let me teach you guys about this sequence. Today is class 4, right?
Yeah.
So it will be class 5. All right. So let me give you the sequence. So when we talk about full backup, let's say this is time 1. Time 1 means it could be any time. Let's say 1 p.m. Okay. In 1 p.m. in the database we had 100 records. Okay. Then we took a full backup. We took a full backup where the database was having 100 records. Now, after full backup, there are 20 transactions. Now, after 20 transactions, at the next time, let's say it is 1 p.m. After 20 transactions, it is 2 p.m. So at this time, the database is having how many records? 120 records, right? Because initially it was having 100 records. Now 20 transactions happened. Now the database is having 120 records. Now here, if we take a differential backup will hold only the 20 records that was inserted after the full backup. So the differential backup will not hold 120 records. The differential backup will hold only the change that has been made after the full backup. What are the change that has been made after the full backup? These 20 transactions, right? So differential backup will be holding only the 20 records that has been changed after the last full backup. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now that is about differential backup. Now one thing is very clear that we cannot restore a database from a differential backup itself. Why? Because differential backup will not hold the entire data set. Differential backup is taking the data backup depending on the full backup, right? So to recover our database from differential backup, we must be having a full backup. So full backup, on top of that, the differential backup that will recover our database. How? So full backup is having 100 records and differential backup is having 20 records. So if we restore full backup as well as differential backup, then we can have the 120 records back in our system. Is it clear? Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now so this is about simple recovery model. Okay. Now let's talk about full recovery model. In full recovery model, we are taking a full backup, 20 transaction happened. We are taking a differential backup. Differential backup is holding 20 records. Now, let's say another 5 transaction happened. And after the 5 transaction happened, we have taken a log backup. Or we have taken another differential backup, let's say. But let's consider we have taken another differential backup. Okay. So after this differential backup, another 5 transaction happened and we are taking another differential backup. So this differential backup will hold how many records?
Total 125 record.
25 records.
25
Why?
records by the
Why it will hold 25 records? 5 transaction happened, right?
Because
So here
basically,
20 transaction happened, it stored 20 records. So
hmm,
here 5 transaction happened. Why it will store 25 records?
because differential record always takes from the last full backup all the records.
Yes, that's the catch. So differential backup will start calculating the data difference from last full backup. So the last full backup happened at this time. After that, 20 transactions and 5 transactions. That is why this differential backup will hold 25 records because it will calculate from last full backup. If I go to the definition, differential, the parts of database that have changed since the last full database backup. So it's not considering the differential backup that we took in between. Is it clear?
And what about transactional backup? It won't
Yeah,
consider
that
that as.
I'll come now. But till this point, differential backup, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
No, I was asking if in between if the transaction backup is taken, will the differential backup consider that or it will take from the full backup only?
No, differential backup will not consider anything except
Okay,
full backup.
okay, got it.
All right.
Hmm.
All right. So let's consider another situation. So let's say 20 transactions, differential backup, then 5 transactions. Here I'm taking log backup. All right. So we have full backup, we have differential backup. Now after 5 transactions, we are taking a log backup because it's full recovery model. So when we are taking a log backup, do you know how many records would be stored in the log backup? So log backup will store only 5 records. These 5 records. So log backup will start calculating since the last backup. It could be differential backup, it could be full backup. But it will consider from the last successful backup. So from this backup, 5 transactions have been made. So the log backup will hold the last 5 records. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now one may ask me, sir, log backup is taking the backup of log file, right? But the log file is not holding the data. Then how come it's storing this 5 transaction information in the log backup? Yes or no? Is log backup, so log backup is taking the backup of what? Data file or log file?
For the
Data file.
transaction.
Log files.
It, log file, right? So these 5 transactions happened on which file? Data file or log file?
Data
Log
file.
file.
No. This 5
Data file.
transaction happened on data file, right?
Mm.
So when we talk about transactions, that means we talk about inserting some records. So when we are inserting
Yes.
some records, the changes has been made in the data file, not in the log file. In the log file, we have the associated information of these transactions, right? Associated transaction means whenever transaction 1 happens, the associated information logged in the log file. So when I say that the 5 records would be saved in the log backup, that means it will not have the direct data. It will be having the associated information or the log information of the 5 transactions. Now, if I have the log information of the 5 transaction, can I replicate the data? If I have the associated log information of the 5 transaction, can I replicate the data? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
I
sir.
think yes. Yes.
But you will
Because
need all three, the full backup,
because
differential, and the log. Then you can.
yeah, because Debu is getting Debu Ghosh not from the data file. Debu is getting into Debu Ghosh from the log information, right? The
Mm.
once the transaction is over, the log file is getting applied to the data file, right? So from the log file, we can apply on the data file. So the sequence of restoring the backup files would be full backup, differential backup, and log backup. So we can restore, we can perform restore operation. We need to first restore a full backup. On top of that, we can restore a differential backup. On top of that, we can restore a log backup. Okay, so that is the sequence. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
So
Yeah.
backup sequence, is full, differential, and then transaction log. And restore sequence, full, differential, transaction log.
So one
Because
question.
in the order we have taken the backup, we need to restore in the same order, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we need to maintain the order, right?
Mm.
We cannot just bypass the order. So we need to maintain the order to keep our data consistent. Now, what is consistent? That is a homework for you guys. Okay. All right. So that's about
One
today's
question here.
class. Yeah, tell me.
Uh, yeah, about the backup sequence, right? Uh,
Mhm.
from full, next will be differential, and then the log file, right? If we take
Yes.
if we had taken a full backup, and then we only take
Mhm.
the log file, even that will work out, right? No need to take the difference.
That will work. Then the restore sequence would be full and transaction log.
Huh,
You need to
got it.
maintain the sequence. That's it. And the
Okay.
most important part is backup must start with full,
Hmm.
restore must start with full. So
Okay.
every operation related to backup restore must start with full. That's the primary criteria. All right. So
Yeah.
today we have learned about taking full backup. Now let me quickly show you taking differential backup and log backup as well. So let me show you guys how to take differential backup using UI, how to take a log backup using UI, and how to take backups using scripts. Okay, copy only backup. I'll teach you guys in the next class. All right. So we have seen how we can take a full backup. So let's see how we can take a differential backup. Task, backup. So the only difference is we need to select differential here. Okay. So differential, then put the location. Here the database backup name was xyz underscore backup. Let me give the differential backup name as xyz underscore backup underscore diff for differential, and the extension would be .bak. So for full and differential, the file extension would be .bak. Okay. Media options, enable these two options. That's it. Backup taken. If I go to the location, see the differential backup has been taken. Now what about log backup? Let me take, so I cannot take a log backup because this is a simple recovery database, right? See, this is a simple recovery one, right? Simple recovery type. So the recovery model is simple. So let me see where we have a full recovery. I think demo is a full recovery model. Let's see. Yes, this is full. So let me show you guys how to take a transaction log. The very same thing, we just need to select transaction log. That's it. Instead of full, it would be transaction log. Remove, add this underscore log, and for log, the file extension would be .trn. .trn is the short form of transaction. Okay. So for
Okay.
full and differential, the backup file extension is .bak. For log file, the extension is .trn. Okay, let me click on OK. Done. Media options. Then next one. That's it. Looks good. Looks good. Let me click on OK. Done. So log file backup taken. If I go here, this is the log file backup. Okay. So that is how we can take full differential and log file backup. The same thing we can do with script as well. Okay. So with script, let's say I want to take the backup of, let's say, demo database. Okay. So the syntax is backup database name to disk the entire location, including the backup file name. Okay. So let's say I'm giving the name demo underscore full underscore script dot bak again. So this is for full database backup. For differential backup, the only thing we need to add is with differential. Okay, let me give the different name demo. Okay, with differential. Now to take a log backup instead of backup database, taking a log backup is backup log. Instead of backup database, it would be backup log. Okay, demo log backup. The same thing. Let me change the log file, backup log file, demo underscore log underscore script dot trn. Okay, that's it. So let me first take the full backup. Let me delete all the previous backup from here. All right. So this is for full backup connected to master database. Let me execute. Done. So full backup generated. Let me now take the differential backup. Done. Differential backup generated. Demo underscore diff underscore script. Okay. Now let me take the log backup. Done. So log backup also generated. So here we can see how to take the backup using UI as well as using script. Any questions? Anyone is having any questions?
No, sir.
All right. No questions. Then that's it. In the next class, we are going to start with recovery. Okay. So we already learned how to recover a database using a full backup. But next day we are going to see how we can recover a database using full differential and log backup. Applying all the backup types, we are going to recover the database. Before we wrap up, anyone is having any questions? Please let me know.
One
No,
question,
Somkar.
Devagar.
Yeah,
Um,
tell me.
in this class notes and the presentation you're using, is it possible to share with us?
Yeah, the presentation anyway I'll share you guys. The class notes, I think it is been shared by Sanchita. Class notes should be shared by Sanchita as well. She'll be
No, it has
uploading the
not
class
been
notes.
shared yet.
We have not received it till now, so I was just wondering what happened.
Mm,
Class
can you
of
check with Sanchita about the class notes, please?
Yeah. Okay.
okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Omka here.
Yeah.
Hello. So
Yeah. Tell me.
actually, you were installing this SQL server. So I thought
Yeah.
it will be
Installing.
installed last.
So the SQL Server got installed or not?
No, sir. It's showing error.
What is the error?
The
So
error
guys,
is
our class is done. Whoever wants to drop, they can drop. Good night. I'll be checking with Omkar here. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Good
Good night,
Good
Thank
sir.
night,
you. Good
night.
night.
Devbrata.
Okay, sir. Good night,
Yeah.
sir.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Omkar,
Good night.
please
If
share
you
the
don't
screen.
mind, I say this side. If you don't mind, can you paste that homework to chat box so that we can do?
Yes. Let me paste the homework in the chat box.
Uh, Devbrada, we have a holiday on Saturday, Sunday, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Right. What is the error?
wait on database engine recovery handle fail.
Right. Can you please close this one? Or hold on. Click on the folder icon in the wizard. You have a folder icon, right, in the right hand side. Click on that.
Yes, sir. Done,
Now
sir.
order by date modified.
Order by get modified. I have to search over here, sir.
Just a moment. Show me the wizard. There will be the file name. Okay. The file name is 2023200634. All right. Go to the folder.
Yes, sir.
Scroll down. You should have a text file named summary. Scroll down.
Search, sir, over here.
No need to search. Scroll down. You should have a text file summary.
So,
Scroll down.
end, sir.
Summary. Yes, the second last option. Open it. The second last folder. Maximize it. Setup completed with redirection for feature representation for those features. Use the following instruction result error. Install the feature. Mm, Microsoft Windows 11 Home. Okay. Scroll down.
This
Scroll
one.
down, please. Configuration file. Go down. Scroll down. Scroll down. Scroll down. Bit faster.
Mention, sir.
Scroll down. Scroll down to the very bottom. All right.
Done, sir.
So an error occurred during the setup process of the feature. SQL Server database engine service instance write to database engine recovery handle failed. This firewall is enabled. Make sure the appropriate ports are open. Remote access. Okay. You said like your laptop was upgraded or what?
Yes, I changed the RAM. It was earlier 8 GB. So now I upgraded to 16 GB.
Okay.
That's the
So
reason
did you?
he fully formatted the laptop.
So you did the laptop format.
No, sir, I did need the laptop repair guy do it. Formatted
Okay.
all
So
full laptop.
he formatted the laptop, right?
Yes, sir.
And what are the other application software you have installed?
Nothing. So only I was trying to install this one.
Okay. So seems like the format was not been done properly. Okay. So the same
Okay.
problem occurred for some other guy as well. Amol, I believe. Amol, yeah, you can go ahead.
Like, sir.
Sir, I have different question.
Okay. So just a moment. So Omkar, the thing I would suggest you guys is so do you have the possibility to format to call up the engineer again?
So I can try.
All right. So do one thing.
Okay.
Call up the guy. Do a clean
Hmm.
format one more time. Okay. And
Okay.
once the format is done, in front of that engineer, try to install SQL Server. If it's not working because there are some missing files in the operating system.
Okay.
Okay. So try to format the system and install SQL Server. If it's showing the error, show the error to the engineer and ask him to resolve the missing files from the operating system.
Okay, sir.
Do you have any antivirus installed in your system?
Yes, it's Mac free.
McAfee.
Yes, sir.
Have you run the scan from McAfee?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So one suggestion is before running the scan, try to perform the installation first, because
Okay.
what because the standard practice is Microsoft don't recommend installing any antivirus in the database server. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the industry practice. So better you either disable the antivirus or not install the antivirus, or if you install antivirus, ask the engineer to make rules to skip scanning the uh, database SQL Server related components. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Try to install SQL Server before installing the antivirus.
Antivirus. Okay, sir. No issues. Thank you.
All right.
Hello, sir.
Amol, yeah, what is your question?
Yeah, sir. When we connect to the particular database, the changes we or the commands we run are happening in that database. So, what
Yes,
about when
yes.
we connect to the master database?
So master database is the brain of SQL Server. Okay. So when we run something connected to the master database, that means all the required information we need to execute the query is present in the master database. So SQL Server is accessing those information from master database and executing the query.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, sir. Yeah, yeah. Got it, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thanks everyone. We'll catch up on Monday. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, who was that?
Aryan this side, sir.
Yeah, Aryan, tell me.
Good evening, sir. Can I speak in Hindi, sir?
Tell me.
Can I speak in Hindi, sir?
Yeah, बोलो बोलो.
सर जैसे कि में हूँ और जैसे मैं देख रहा हूँ क्लास में जितने भी मतलब हमारे साथ जो पढ़ रहे हैं वो लोग मुझसे काफ़ी सीनियर है, अधिकतर लोग उसमें जॉब वगैरह कर रहे हैं सर। तो मुझे क्लास में
अच्छा.
पूछने में थोड़ा मतलब एक फियर जैसा लगता है, इसलिए मैं प्रॉपर्ली पूछ
हम्म.
नहीं पाता हूँ अच्छे तरीके से। तो सर मैं ये पूछ रहा था कि सर जैसे आप जो एसक्यूएल पढ़ा रहे हो सर, इसका मतलब
हम्म.
बाइलिंगुअल में यूट्यूब पे क्लास मिल जाएगा कोई अच्छे से मतलब एडुकेटर का, जिससे मैं पहले क्लास करके उसके बाद फिर मैं इसे अटेंड करूँ, जिससे मुझे अच्छे तरीके से समझ में आए।
देखो, पहला बात मतलब तुम्हें अगर लग रहा है मतलब ऐसा शाइनेस का कुछ नहीं है, तुम कुछ क्वेश्चन पूछ नहीं सकते. अगर तुम इंग्लिश में कंफर्टेबल नहीं हो, यू कैन आस्क योर क्वेश्चन इन हिंदी. नो वरीज.
ओके
ओके,
सर, थैंक यू सर।
that's the first thing.
यस सर।
And the next thing is like if you want to learn about little bit about the background before coming to the class, just search in YouTube like SQL Server tutorial for beginner.
यस
So
सर।
save the term SQL Server or Microsoft SQL Server tutorial for beginner. Okay,
यस सर।
or this is one term. Another term you can try search in YouTube is Microsoft SQL Server Database Administrator for beginner.
यस सर।
Okay, so if you learn about this around this topic, then I mean see, देखो भाई, एक दिन में तो कुछ आता नहीं है, ठीक है. किसी
यस सर। यस सर।
मैं ये फील्ड में काम कर रहा हूँ आज 10 साल से ऊपर हो गया, उसके बाद
यस सर।
मैं इतना सा जानता हूँ, ठीक है.
यस सर।
तो ऐसा तो पॉसिबल होगा नहीं कि तुम एक बार में सब सुन लो और सब समझ जाओ, तो आइंस्टाइन
नहीं
हो
सर
जाओगे
ऐसा
तुम, है ना.
नहीं सर,
तो
मैं क्लास
इससे
को 3 टाइम
डीमोटिवेट,
देखता हूँ सर।
इससे मतलब ये डीमोटिवेशन वाली कोई बात ही नहीं है, ठीक है.
यस सर।
ये नॉर्मल बात है. तुम्हारे
यस सर।
साथ जो हो रहा है ये एकदम 100% नॉर्मल है.
यस सर।
एबनॉर्मलिटी इसमें 1% भी नहीं है.
यस
So
सर।
it's good that you are trying to give your best to learn this thing better. So
यस सर।
मैं क्या सजेस्ट कर रहा हूँ, तुम Microsoft SQL Server Database Administration for Beginners,
यस सर।
Microsoft SQL Server Database Administration for Beginners ये बोल के YouTube में सर्च करो. तुमको कुछ
ओके।
कोर्स मिलेगा, कुछ टॉपिक्स मिलेगा. गो थ्रू दोस टॉपिक्स. ओके,
यस सर।
तुमको एक बैकग्राउंड मिलेगा. वैसे भी
यस सर।
तुमको ये क्लास का तुम्हें क्या बोलते हैं, क्लास का रिकॉर्डिंग्स मिलता है, ठीक है.
यस सर।
क्लास का रिकॉर्डिंग्स एक बार नहीं 10 बार सुनो. जो जो
यस सर।
लाइन समझ में नहीं आ रहा है बार बार सुनो, ठीक है.
यस सर।
सुन के जो भी क्वेश्चंस आ रहा है उसको नोट डाउन करो. मैं क्लास के पहले ही पूछता हूँ व्हाट आर द क्वेश्चंस, व्हाट आर द डाउट्स, ठीक
यस
है.
सर। यस सर।
तो पहले ही वो सब डाउट क्लियर कर लो. इफ यू आर नॉट कंफर्टेबल इन इंग्लिश, आस्क मी क्वेश्चंस इन हिंदी. नो वरीज
ओके सर।
देयर. ओके.
ओके सर, थैंक यू।
तो मतलब ऐसा कोई बात नहीं है कि इंग्लिश में ही बात करना होगा. इंग्लिश इज अ कॉमन लैंग्वेज, दैट इज व्हाई वी
यस सर।
स्पीक इन इंग्लिश. ओके.
यस सर। यस 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 सर, थैंक यू सर।
ऑलराइट, चलो. गुड नाइट.
गुड नाइट सर।
गुड नाइट, गुड नाइट.